Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Warhammer Man Studios. I'm Warhammer Man, and today we're taking a look at this week's Sunday preview. This video is sponsored by CMO Games. More on that later. Sunday preview: World Eaters on Patrol, Magic in the Wyrdhollow, and Warhammer Fest. We're buzzing with anticipation of the reveals coming at Warhammer Fest this weekend. But that's not all this week has in store. There are more reveals from a new edition of Warhammer 40,000, more pre-orders, and the latest additions to Warhammer Plus, all on their way. And there is a little video if you want to check that out, but we're going to take a look at the full article. It's been more than 8 weeks, 8 days, 8 hours, and 8 minutes since we revealed Combat Patrol World Eaters. And the angriest box of miniatures in the galaxy is finally coming to pre-order after an unavoidable delay in the warp. This is a perfect way to start a new World Eaters army or add to Angron's horde, containing 20 Khorne Berzerkers and 10 Jackals, led by the super flexible World Eaters Lord on Juggernaut, who can also be built as Lord Invocatus. So yeah, finally here, the World Eaters Combat Patrol. So very excited for this. For anybody out there that has been able to hold off this long on purchasing their World Eaters. Unfortunately, I broke down and traded off my Astra Militarum for World Eaters. So it's too late for me, my friends. But for those of you who stayed strong, you'll be able to get this nice box set. Great deal. We did the breakdown on this price-wise, and it came out to something like 35% off. It's going to be priced at $160, same as the rest of the Combat Patrols. And it did have around like $200, and I want to say it was like $40 or something like that in value. So it's definitely a nice deal. Definitely a good set. Has a lot of bodies in it. So really nice set. It is definitely a bummer that it was delayed so long. I'm not sure if this was intentional by Games Workshop. I suspect they just wanted to sell everything at full price first, but it made it nonetheless. All right, and next we have Warhammer Underworlds, Wyrdhollow. The first expansion for the latest season of Warhammer Underworlds is here, as 2 warbands sizzling with arcane energy plunge deeper into the depths of the Gnarlwood. The 3 Knights Arcanum of Domitan's Storm Coven spit holy lightning from their fingertip and quest in the name of Sigmar, while Ephilim and the Unknowable, apprenticed to one of Tzeentch's infamous Gaunt summoners, warps the energies of his own demonic followers to cast powerful spells turn after turn. As well as 2 full warbands, Wyrdhollow also contains 4 pre-constructed decks, 1 for each warband and 2 universal decks, suitable for the Rivals format, plus a game board, piles of useful dice and tokens, and concise rulebook filled with background lore. Alright, so here we have the Stormcast. So these are all Stormcast wizards right here. Very cool, definitely some nice sculpts. I like what they're doing with the rocks and everything. Some cool poses. This one like kind of hovering forward casting. Very cool. Definitely a fan of all these models. And then here we see the Tzeentch Gaunt Summoner and his minions. Again, very cool models. Super unique. We see some signs of some of our more familiar Tzeentch creations, as well as some like full-on warped stuff. Definitely very cool. I like all these models, and as always, the Warhammer Underworlds models are absolutely fantastic. Some of, if not the best models Games Workshop produces. Also a huge fan of all of the bases. These are all like fully textured, ready to go, super cool for both warbands. I have to say, very impressed by this. All right, and then we'll take a quick little stop in Middle-earth and take a look at Amon Hen, the Fallen Head statue. If you're looking to recreate the climactic battle of the Fellowship of the Ring at Amon Hen, you can't be doing without the most interesting terrain piece there. That giant stone head from an age of past glory. Luckily for you, Forgeworld is bringing this fascinating fallen statue to the tabletop with an intricately detailed resin terrain piece. Cast in one solid piece, so all you need to do is paint it up and hide it amidst the trees. Better yet, you can complete the rest of the iconic scene with the Ambush of Amon Hen collection on Games Workshop's web store. So here it is. I know this is the thing that Lord of the Ring players have been really asking for. I can't think of anything possible more exciting than this fallen stone head from Forgeworld. So it will be priced extremely high as well. So yeah, please try to contain your excitement. I know that a lot of you are probably jumping out of your seats right now. But regardless, no matter how exciting this Forgeworld release is, we do need to move on as there are other releases as well. Alright, so once again, Games Workshop has finally listened to me, taken my advice, and here we have some paint sets. Get 15 of the most universally used Citadel base paints with this handy bundle, containing Abaddon Black, Koroks White, Mechanicus Standard Gray, Wraithbone, Mephiston Red, Rhinax Hide, Mornifying Brown, Bugman's Glow, Zandri Dust, Averlin Sunset, Macragh Blue, and Wa Flesh, Orruk Flesh, Leadbelcher, and Balthazar Gold. So this is an interesting set. It is 15 total paints. It does include a couple of metallics. It is all base paints. Which tend to be a little less vibrant, but you just want to make sure that you're hitting all those key colors. And I think they did a pretty good job at this. Honestly, there's a couple of small changes I would probably make to it, but I'm not opposed to any of these specific colors in the set. I think it does, at first glance, a pretty good job capturing what you would want to see. Obviously, we have our primaries in there. We have a couple of decent alternatives and some metallics as well. I think the biggest thing I would say is, rather than having Balthazar Gold in the set, I would rather see Retributor Armor, as that is pretty much the go-to gold and more of a stereotypical looking gold, as where Balthazar Gold is a little bit more lackluster. But overall, nice set, 15 paints in it. As long as it's a good deal and you were after all the paints in the set, I think this is a nice one. It looks like a good place to start overall. I did like the old sets that they had with the clippers and paintbrushes and all that stuff in there for beginners. But I think this is just as good, because a lot of people probably don't want to pay for those extra subpar products when all they really want is the paint. So let's check out what other sets we have. All right, so next we have our layer paint set. Once you've got your base coats down, you'll want to layer up some bright and bold colors. The layer paint set of 15 colors contains Aldorf Blue, Orruk Armor Gold, Dawnstone, Evil Sun Scarlet, Flashgitz Yellow, Karak Stone, Kislev Flesh, Runefang Steel, Screaming Skull, Skarsnik Green, Warbass Green, Warpstrone Glow, White Scar, Scrag Brown, and Gorthor Brown. So overall, a nice set once again. Covers all of the basics. I think pretty much anything you would think right off the bat. It does seem to have a few colors that are relatively close. Covers all the basics as far as your layer paints go. And again, if it's a good deal, it's definitely worth picking up if you were going to pick up the majority of the paints already. All right, and next we have the contrast paint set. Contrast paints can turn a single flat base coat into a detailed landscape of shadows, highlights, and midtones with just one application. And a wide collection will give you all kinds of options for painting miniatures quickly and easily. This set of 9 contrast paints includes Black Legion, Apothecary White, Guilliman Flesh, Snakebite Leather, Skeleton Horde, Gutrippaz Flesh, Asherman Blue, Blood Angels Red, and Imperial Fist. So I think that this started off really strong and then made all subpar decisions towards the end. So my list of amazing contrast paints, if I was going to make this set, would be Black Legion, Apothecary White, Guilliman Flesh, Snakebite Leather, and Skeleton Horde. So we're exactly in alignment on those. But I completely disagree with the remainder. Gutrippaz Flesh, Asherman Blue, Blood Angels Red, and Imperial Fist are all 4 inferior contrast paints compared to my own personal preferences. And of course, that's in my opinion. I would replace Gutrippaz Flesh with Plaguebearer Flesh. It is a substantially better paint. It has exponentially more applications and just overall is better. As far as Acerman Blue, I would replace that with Talassar Blue. Talassar Blue is much more vibrant and it is much more effective as a contrast color. Acerman Blue is lackluster at best. And then Blood Angels Red is good and everything, but I have the feeling that no one at Games Workshop has ever actually used their paints, because if you ever use Blood Angels Red, you'll be happy with it. But if you use Flesh Tearers Red afterwards, you'll probably never want to use Blood Angels Red again. Flesh Tearers Red is substantially better. It is a little bit darker. It has a little bit of like a maroon tone to it, but it is one of the best contrast paints and has an amazing effect. And then for Imperial Fist as well, it's not a bad paint. It's okay for laying down some yellow color, but it doesn't really act the same way that you would want a contrast paint to act. So I would replace this one with Iyanden Yellow. It has a little bit of an orange tint to it, but it works extremely well as a contrast paint. And once you highlight it with a lighter yellow, it looks absolutely amazing. So again, I got to give Games Workshop props on this. They nailed the first 5 paints absolutely beautifully. And the last 4 aren't bad, but I honestly feel that there is at least one superior paint, like I listed off, for each of those colors. So naturally, you just should include the best one. But again, very happy to see Games Workshop coming out with a contrast little bundle here. And I really hope that they are priced accordingly so they're popular. Because I think a lot of people don't like contrast paints because they're expensive and are settling for subpar products because they don't realize how much better contrast paints are because they don't want to pony up the extra dollars. And in my opinion, if I was going to spend $100, I would rather spend $100 on some really nice paints and have less of them than I would just spend $100 and just get a ton of mediocre paints. So very happy to see some contrast paints in a little bundle right here, and looking forward to seeing the pricing on these as well. Now a quick message from today's sponsor. CMO Games has been selling Games Workshop products online for over 20 years. They carry the full line of Games Workshop products, including Warhammer 40,000, Age of Sigmar, Necromunda, Blood Bowl, paint tools, and more. Almost all Games Workshop products are priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games takes pre-orders for most Games Workshop products released at their earliest date possible. 12:01 a.m. on Saturday, they go live. Most of these pre-order products are also priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games offer free shipping in the US 48 with an order of $50 or more. Their customer service is top-notch and they ship most orders within 24 hours. Visit CMOGames.com using the affiliate link in the description and let them know that you heard about CMO Games from Warhammer Man. Now back to the video. And last but not least of our little paint bundles, we have the Citadel Shade Set. Finish off your models with some deep, dramatic shadows, courtesy of the Shade Paint Set. Comprising 9 of the most popular colors in the range, the old stalwart Null and Oil is joined by Agrax Earthshade, Drakenhof Nightshade, Reichland Fleshshade, Seraphim Sepia, Soulblight Gray, Baelton Green, Carlborough Crimson, Cassandora Yellow. So definitely happy to see a shade paint set. I'm pretty sure the only one of these that I can't actually speak to is the Soulblight Gray. So when the new shade paint sets came out, I did not purchase them. I am still using all of the old contrast shade paints. Matter of fact, I stocked up on quite a few of the older versions of some of the more popular ones like Null and Oil, Agrax, etc. Just because I love those paints so much, and they also came in a larger container. But they did introduce some new colors that I don't have. The only one from this list is the Soulblight Gray, but I do love Games Workshop shades. They perform extremely well. They're some of the best shades that I've ever used, arguably the best shades I've ever used. With the exception of a couple little small quirky things here and there, like if you lay on Agrax Earthshade really, really thick, it can get glossy. Just little stuff like that. But honestly, I love the consistency of them. I love how well they work, and it's great to see them in a bundle like this. The majority of people probably don't need 9 shade paints. I think most people probably need like 3 or 4, but it is nice to have them. And from what I understand, they actually combine the effects of like your typical shade with a little bit of the medium kind of the contrast paints as well. So they actually perform a little bit better than the old line. So I'm just going to assume that what I've heard is right and that these are actually better than the old ones. So honestly, I could definitely get behind these. So that is it for this week. Quite a few new pre-orders. Obviously, the most exciting for me is the final release of the Combat Patrol World Eaters. Sort of toted the line on that one. I was really going to hold out for the Combat Patrol, but ended up getting some nice deals for trading off my Astra Militarum. So I did jump the gun on that one. But for everybody that was able to stay strong and hold out for the World Eaters Combat Patrol, congratulations. It is finally here. So very happy to see this coming out here. Definitely happy to see the bundles of paints as well. Really looking forward to seeing the pricing on that stuff. Hopefully it is reasonable, at least for Games Workshop terms. And the new Underworlds game and the models inside are awesome as well. Lots of exciting stuff this week. Let me know what you're most excited about. I know a lot of people have really been waiting and holding out for the Combat Patrol World Eaters. So here it is, finally. Super exciting. And also the paint sets as well. I'm really happy to see some small paint sets that we can recommend to new painters or somebody that's looking to try something different. Because in particular, I think the quality of contrast paints and shades is far superior to other companies, at least most of the ones I've tried. So this opportunity for people to be able to pick up a bundle and really get to try out some great quality products from Games Workshop is definitely a good thing as far as I'm concerned. Special thanks to CMO Games for sponsoring the video. As always, check them out. Link in the description to save 15% on your pre-orders. And that's it for today. Warhammer Man Studios, I'm Warhammer Man, and I'm relieved that the Combat Patrol World Eaters is finally here. And Games Workshop, I know you're watching, I know you're listening, and I appreciate you taking my advice. And I'm out of here.